Hello friends, welcome to be a part of Creative Wanderers. Now let's discuss about our float data types in Python. What are floating point numbers? Well, 2.3, 4.5 and so on all belongs to the category of floating point numbers. They are just numbers with decimal points, right? And I hope you remember in the last video, we just checked the type of integers in data type. And how did we do that? Well, we just wrote like this, right? Print and then type and then 2 plus 3. If I just run this, did you see that? We got class int printed over here. And in the same way, I can do this for all the operators, right? And how can I do that? Well, let me just copy this. And then, now I can check the type for subtraction and then multiplication and for division, right? Now, if I run this, do you see that? First one is int, class int again, and then class float. And here comes our float data type. But how does this fifth one, that is print type of 2 by 3, became class float? Well, let's check it out. Now we know that 2 by 3 is 0.666 and so on. So the interpreter, just as we do calculation mathematics, goes for the first brackets and that is 2 by 3. He recognizes that it is 0.666 and so on. And then the next task is to check for the type of 0.666 and so on. And then it comes to know that, hey, this is float point number, right? So it must be class float. And now if I just print this, let me just delete this. Now if I just print this and run, did you see that? We got class float. So just as we do mathematics, like we go for each brackets, right? In the same way our interpreter goes like that. And finally, we have commanded to tell us the type, right? And just like that, it gives us a type or the class. And now the class float appears. Now, let us check it for 0, guys. Like, if the number is 0, what's gonna be the result? Yes, we got it as class int, right? 0.666 and so on belongs to class float and 0 belongs to class int. But let me ask this. Why is there a distinction of float and int? Because at the end of the day, both are numbers. Like, why it can't be like class numbers, right? Well, I hope you remember that in the introduction I mentioned, in memory, computer's memory, everything is all about zeros and ones. And computer's language is zeros and ones, right? Something called as binary numbers. So here, this is 0.666 and this is 0. Here there is a decimal part along with this, right? So this means in memory, integers takes less space as compared to the floating point numbers. And there should be a clear distinction for the computer to understand this, right? So here it takes two locations, like this is in one location and this is another location. Whereas integers, it contains only one number and it is all about one location. So the space, the space achieved by both of them is different, and that's why there is a clear distinction of whether it is floating point numbers, it comes under class float, and if it is integer, it comes under class int. Did you get it? Let's do another interesting thing, guys. If this was in 0 and we wanted to add something like 11 plus 1.1. If it was like this and we wanted to know the type of this, if I run this, did you see that? We got it as class float, right? So now, how does this become class float? Well, let's check it out. If I remove this type and then this brackets over here. Now, if I run this, do you see that? The answer of 11 plus 1.1 is 12.1 and this is a floating point number, right? So that our result became class float. So what does this mean? Well, this is an integer and this is a floating point number. So our interpreter can also typecast two different data types, right? Whether it's what, it depends upon the result, right? Now, this type function is not so important or we don't want to learn the technicalities of that, but we can do many other things with these operators. And at the end, what we need is just wanted our Python to do different calculations for us, right? So this type is not so important, but just want to know what it is. Other than these basic operators, we have many different operators available in Python for our calculations. And they are like some basic examples. We have suppose 2 star double star. And what is this? Well, this is actually exponent calculation. That means 2 raised to the power 2. And if I run this, we get it as 4. Let me just delete this. We get 4. This is the exponent calculator, right? This operator. And then we have double divide, that is 2 slashes. This is another division operator. And if I run this, 1. It gives the integer rounded down. Now, if this was 5, double divided by 4, if I run this, we get 1. So, what is this double divider operator for? Well, this is, it gives us the result as only integers rounded down. And now we have another operator, and that is the modulo. And this is a percent sign, and this gives us the remainder, okay, remainder of a division. If I run this, we get 1 because 5 divided by 4 gives us the remainder 1. So these are the different basic operators. And now we have looked at what is a float data type. But I know this that, the syntax is quite intimidating for the beginners who are just started programming. But then don't worry guys, through practice we can achieve anything. And I keep on repeating this that you should code along with me because only then you'll get a thorough idea of what the syntax is. And in the next video, we'll be back with the next fundamental data type. Till then, stay tuned.